This Saturday is the 17th annual Strides for Stroke fundraiser. There will be 1-mile walks happening at the same time in New Brighton, Duluth, and St. Cloud. Every 40 seconds, somebody has a stroke, and every 4 minutes, someone dies of a stroke. Joining us today is Brad Donaldson from the Minnesota Stroke Association, as well as Vivian Martin, who is a stroke survivor. She had a stroke while she was having a miscarriage at the age of 43. Thank you to both of you for coming in. And Vivian, thank you for sharing your story. Now, this was the only time you suffered from a stroke, and it happened to be when you were having a miscarriage.
Yes.
How traumatic was that for you?
Well, what I would say is that strokes do happen. And if a young woman has a stroke, it's probably pregnancy related and most likely a miscarriage. So, of course, the miscarriage was awful. The stroke was even worse.
And what did you learn from that experience, and how are you helping this organization now?
Well, I learned how possible it is to recover with a great support system. I got involved with the Minnesota Stroke Association shortly after my stroke and got involved with a group of women who had decided that we were just going to recover. Not having a recovery wasn't in the cards for us. And then I got great support from therapists. I went back to work part-time. I worked my way up. It took me a year to get back to work full-time. And I would say what I learned is what's possible. And that's why I'm part of the Minnesota Stroke Association, why I'm active in the walk, is because I want others to share my good fortune. A stroke doesn't have to be a permanent disability, even though it is the leading cause of disability in the United States. And so we need to see what's possible with support.
And Brad, Vivian is an example of someone who suffered from a stroke that maybe you wouldn't think. And there are a lot of people out there that do. 97,000 Minnesotans are affected. How are you trying to raise awareness?
We work to make sure people realize a stroke can happen to anyone, anytime, anywhere. That it's typically perceived it's an elderly issue, but it's not. Stat a while back was 34% of the strokes happen in people under the age of 50. So we look to raise people's awareness that act fast. If you think you might be having a stroke, facial weakness, arm weakness, speech difficulty, call 911. It's better to be safe than sorry later.
And Vivian, this isn't your first time participating in the walk.
No,
so for people who've never been out, what can you expect?
Well, I will say the walk is about community. And it's about the fact that a stroke doesn't just happen to someone, it also happens to their families. They become caregivers. And I think the stroke is a lot of fun, a lot of kids, a lot of families, and people coming out to celebrate the community they've created and the accomplishments they have. I think many of us are happy that we can walk.
Yeah.
And don't take that for granted.
Well, if you are interested in attending the Strides for Stroke Walk at Long Lake Regional Park in New Brighton, starts at 10 o'clock this Saturday morning. The pre-walk program starts at 9:40, and to sign up or make a donation to someone like Vivian, all you have to do is go to WCCO.com/links. Vivian and Brad, thank you so much for coming in.